Hello everyone, welcome back to Crimson Gray, Dusk and Dawn. Let's go ahead and continue. Several days later, more information had come out and everything was far less clear. The facts of the Warnos incidents were overwhelmed by rumors, theories, and other chaos that muddled any potential message. Lizzie was absolutely certain in her interpretation, but obviously she was keeping that to herself. The girl's name was common knowledge now, and her face was represented by both a very normal-looking yearbook photo and a grin from the video. The exact order of events which she had killed 12 of her classmates was still argued over, adding to the conspiracy theories. It was unclear why she had done it, and none of the evidence offered struck Lizzie as correct. She was actually a little curious what the girl's reasoning had been, but ultimately it didn't matter. At the moment, Lizzie was writing up some of her thoughts in a notebook. The incident had set her imagination on fire, so she used the notebook more lately. But she let John see much of what she did and they'd been able to talk about it, which amplified the soothing effect. Now, though, she was finished and feeling restless. Lizzie glanced at the clock and got up to pace a little. John was currently at the computer lab, another part-time job he'd taken to try to reduce their debt. This one is also usually easy, he said, but tonight, allegedly, he was going to be playing games with some other people, including Aaron, which made her a little uncomfortable. She knew it was irrational, but she hadn't pushed too hard. But John knew she didn't like it. He'd promised that soon he'd start withdrawing a little more to spend time with her, but hadn't specified exactly when. Lizzie decided that it was time to go visit him. Not just to check on him, but because she might as well see what everyone was interested in. Games didn't particularly interest her, and John hadn't played many because they were expensive. But there was a group on campus setting up something called a LAN party. She made her way across campus at speed toward the lab. She was anxious, no point denying that. But it was a low-level anxiety she could swallow without doing any harm. Inside, she found things a little different than expected. Each person had a separate computer. Maybe she had been thinking of consoles, while everyone together on the same couch. This was reasonable and seemed like the kind of thing John would like. Though almost everyone was utterly fixated on the screen, John looked up and smiled when he saw her. She immediately moved to stand behind him, one hand on his shoulder. The screen seemed to be from the point of view of someone running through corridors carrying a gun. There were other numbers, presumably, the statistics related to the game. So, this is the game? Yeah, it's fun playing over LAN, but I doubt I want to play too often. That's normal, right? I mean, there are a lot more important causes in the world. You can't be focused all the time or you'll just end up useless, you know? Oh, Aaron, put your shirt down, you hussy. And close up your pants. Lizzie could be focused all the time, or at least she could be, but she nodded. That's true for John, at least. One of the ways she needed to protect him. Sorry if I'm distracted. After the match week, he cut off as someone else appeared from around the corner on the screen, abruptly moving his mouse and hitting keys much faster. Lizzie found herself briefly concerned for his avatar, but fortunately, it was the other player who collapsed, the little human image spurting blood. Is this Counter-Strike? Are you playing Counter-Strike? That's not very realistic. That prompted a strange eyebrow from Aaron. Well, it is a game. So, the winner is the person who kills the most people? More or less. The timer is... Whoa. Once again, the game sucked up his attention, so Lizzie stopped distracting him and just stayed behind to watch. It must be Counter-Strike. Ah, this artwork is so cute. Lizzie looks so cute. She looks so cute. Maybe she's gonna play. I hope she plays. If she could play the game, would John like that? Lizzie watched his hands in the gameplay. Reaction time seemed to play a part, and she'd be good at that. But the actions necessary to move and fire seemed very artificial. She wasn't sure she'd be able to adjust to them. Of course, she wouldn't want to play against John, even if his character was just a little soldier that didn't look like him. She also wasn't sure she wanted to play with this group. If he were staring at her with a look that made her set her teeth on edge, only John got to look at her that way. Things went well until John's avatar came under heavy fire. Abruptly the screen pulled back, and she saw the little figure collapse in the shadow of blood. John had been killed. He winced and muttered to himself, "Ah, she's pissed. She's got murder in her eyes. But she still looks so cute." Raw hatred surged through Lizzie as she realized that one of the people in that room had killed him. He popped it back up a second later, but she barely noticed, scanning the other chairs. Was there any way to tell which username connected the person who had killed him? But as things went on, John killed him back several times. He got killed again, and the surges of hatred faded. It's just a little silly avatar after all. John was fine. She couldn't kill people in real life and do no harm, would she? The idea kind of excited her, but she decided not to explore it for now. Before too long, the match ended. If she read the screen right, John did well. In the top third of players, considering he had less time for games than many other people, she was very proud of him, giving him a quick hug from behind. Team Deathmatch then. He's playing Team Deathmatch. He swiveled around in his chair to face her, smiling. "You just came to watch, I take it. Do you want to play?" "Oh, I don't know about that. It doesn't seem quite like my sort of thing." "Did you know there are seriously people blaming the Warnos incident on violent video games?" Shaking his head, Aaron swiveled to face them. "It's not just a few crackpots either. I hear a lot of people saying that this is because of the violence in our media, calling for all kinds of societal change, so long as they're superficial." "I don't think you're going to overthrow the status quo with a revolution, Aaron. But obviously I agree all the campaigning against violent games is misplaced." "I don't know, man. I think we're past the point where incremental change can accomplish anything. You saw the pharmaceuticals just spun this incident to give them even more power. But it was a quiet town. Who knows how drugs might have made the situation worse." The two of them went back and forth, arguing mildly. It interested Lizzie a little, but was more abstract than she preferred. The Droop and Sharon got involved to prevent some of the unpleasant people from coming closer and trying to talk to her. It seemed they were taking a break in between matches. Several people were taking the time to go to the bathroom or get snacks. For the most part, it seemed like a decent group, so Lizzie didn't mind John spending time with them. The break didn't last long, not nearly long enough for John and Aaron to resolve their disagreement. John glanced at her, but when Lizzie smiled encouragingly, he participated in the next match as well. "Aw, she's smiling. That is so cute." As she watched, Lizzie got more of a natural sense for the game, but actually took her out of the experience. In the game, there is no way you could tell if someone is behind you, no sense of the environment or easy way to keep tabs on the scenario. And the blood effects really were sort of silly, not realistic at all. So I guess they're all just playing with the... what's it called? Speakers. Yet she felt a little intrigued. John had mentioned that computer graphics were always getting better. If there was a game that looked more realistic and let her use knives instead of guns, she wondered if it could be fun for her. Not the same as killing people, but... When they finished the next match, John got up to stretch while Aaron glanced toward them again. "You're really watching intently. You sure you don't want to play, Lizzie?" "No, that's okay. I don't really like guns." "Fair enough. This kind of crazy violence isn't for everyone." Finished stretching, John glanced over at her. For a moment, just considering, then he nodded. "I think I've had about enough for today. You want to head home, Lizzie?" "Okay." "You two take care, okay?" They left the lab and walked back together, taking their time. John seemed to be contemplating something, so Lizzie just kept pace alongside him and let him think until he was ready. Aaron's a good guy, but I don't think we're ever going to agree on some big things. Everything we were talking about with changing society, you mean? Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see the FDCA change and the entire industry will be transformed. I kinda doubt it. History would have needed to go differently years ago. I agree with you, John. But maybe that's fine. He'll go his own way and organize protests and things. I'll see if I can't do more within the system. Maybe both approaches are necessary. They'll take us in completely different directions, though. Do you mean you aren't upset that I am uncomfortable about Aaron, are you? He looked at her, slight surprise in his eyes. No, not at all. I was trying to say the opposite. It looks like our choices in life will mean that we spend less time together regardless. I understand. I'm glad you're not upset. Just thoughtful. Strange how choices you make at the beginning of life can take things in such different directions. It's like, is there another version of me who follows in Francesca's path and works for the FDCA? Another one where I join protests? One where I forget all about it and just take some other job? Interesting. And it was interesting, but Lizzie didn't like the idea. She liked this John, the one with her. She liked herself and the singular relationship they had. John noticed her slight frown before she could think to hide it, but Lizzie decided that was fine. You seem troubled. I don't like thinking about other versions of myself. A Lizzie who never met you, or somehow didn't love you, or... I don't want to think about those. You don't have to focus on the depressing possibilities. What about a version of where we escaped Koitek entirely and just lived happily together? That idea did bring a bit of warmth to her heart, even though it was a fantasy. But a moment later, Lizzie realized the true potential of the concept. She could always stay with her John and make the best decisions, but she could imagine all the past and not take it and enjoy them too, just adding more facets to their relationship. I like that, John. I really do. I'm glad. And I just want to say that even considering every possible future reality, I want to be with you in all of them. Aww. Lizzie latched onto his arm happily and squeezed him for just a moment. Me too, John. All the alternate reality Lizzies want to be with you too. Well, now we're getting to straight science fiction. The two of them explored that topic as they headed back, sometimes speculative and sometimes just silly. Lizzie was happy to discuss it and bringing happiness by the time they went to bed. There are so many other paths in life, but it would always be with John and Lizzie. Lizzie and John. Forever. Lizzie had been having a good day until she went out to get their mail. It contained their usual financial statement from the college, which normally she looked at dutifully but didn't particularly care about. Nothing was wrong, technically. Their account was in good order, and all the payments were as expected. What bothered her was that their debt had only changed about the usual amount. John had been working so much more. Shouldn't it have gone down? To be sure she wasn't making a mistake, Lizzie went to find her previous statement. In a box with the others, John was always so organized. Yes, everything was just as she remembered. Odd. Chewing on her lower lip, Lizzie began looking around their home, checking alternate possibilities. The cash they kept at home was about the usual. There hadn't been any expenses and she'd neglected to consider, and no mid-semester textbooks. Then, where had the money gone? Her first thought was a fear that they had been robbed somehow. The second that the university was cheating them. But she discarded both those quickly, as they would have had other consequences before now. That led to the possibility that John was intentionally hiding something from her. Slowly sinking into the couch, Lizzie chewed one of her fingers and rolled her knife around her other hand in an exercise that was usually soothing, but not this time. There was the possibility that he wanted to buy something for himself. He hadn't had his own computer for the game. Maybe it was that. But if that was true, why wouldn't he have mentioned it to her? Did he think that she would ever deny him anything? No, Lizzie, calm down. It's possible that he was getting rid of some kind of emergency. Or even to leave. No, surely not. She can live without him, and her John would never do such a thing. But if not, why? Why? Realizing there was blood trickling down her finger, Lizzie removed it from her mouth. She paused a moment, stilling her knife, then took a deep breath. Let's confront John about it. Putting on a normal smile, Lizzie set aside everything she had been looking at and then waited for John to come home. When he arrived, she gave him her usual smile and embrace. How was work today, John? Boring as usual, which is a good thing. Got a lot to read. I got a lot read, sorry. Are you going to have to do extra shifts this week? I got offered overtime for one of them, but I was going to check with you first. Would that be fine? Where's the extra money going, John? His face immediately fell, and for a moment her heart fell with it. But she didn't see fear in his eyes, just a complex mix of emotions that she had a difficult time separating. After a time, he sighed and shook his head, giving a rueful smile. I guess I shouldn't have tried to keep it a secret, but I was just afraid you'd think it was too much of a sacrifice or something. John? What do you mean? I've been saving funds for our wedding. After plummeting through the earth, her heart shot back upwards. Though she gave John a huge smile, the way his eyes lingered on her suggested that the whiplash was visible on her face. Oh, John, that's wonderful. But it would have been such a nice surprise, and now I ruined it. Lizzie, don't beat yourself up over it. I'm the one who should have been direct with you. How long have you been planning this? quite a while. After high school, you were nervous a wedding would go wrong somehow, so I didn't try then. As time went on, you seemed less worried about it, but by then we already had our college debt. I started thinking about how I talked about money a lot, and I wondered if you wanted to get married, but felt that you couldn't ask because of money. So I decided to save up a decent amount, and I could ask you and show that the money would be no concern. I knew it must be something wonderful.
I knew it. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Let's get married as soon as we can.
He smiled at that and helped her calm down a little. While embracing entirely, Lizzie realized that he was right. It'd be wrong to rush into this. They needed their wedding day to be perfect. Half of her was overjoyed that John had been planning for this, but the other half was conflicted. She had doubted him, and because of that, she caused him pain. He was trying to hide it, but she could see that her accusation had made him unhappy. But both halves were swept away in a circle of imagination surrounding their wedding. Soon Lizzie realized that her imagination was only the beginning. The two of them could discuss all their wedding plans now. She pulled back and beamed at him again.
So many decisions to make. Where do we start?
Well, do you still want me to get down on one knee and propose? It was kind of weird given everything, but I wasn't sure if you'd appreciate the gesture.
3 years ago, I think I would have said yes, but now, I don't think it really matters. We both already know that we want to get married. And as for the romantic gesture, I already have lots of romantic memories, like you helping me clean up all those bodies.
I got a chuckle from him, which had been her goal. She meant it though. John wasn't like her, and he could have been scared. But he had helped her and accepted her even after seeing everything she was capable of. Compared to that, the fantasy of him going down on one knee didn't seem to matter. Getting married though, she still wanted that and all the memories that went with it. Lizzie put her hand on his knee eagerly.
Okay. You're probably thinking about all kinds of plans and details, right? How close are we?
Well, that depends. It doesn't cost much to just get married at the courthouse, but I imagined you wanted more than that. The price of most weddings is ridiculous, but I've been looking into ways to avoid the worst costs. Inflate prices for weddings, you see. John explained everything he'd been considering, making it clear just how much research he had done. She agreed with him on almost everything. They didn't need a lot of stupid expensive things for their wedding, just things that really mattered, which quickly came down to a small list. I looked into renting a tux, but it was actually a little more expensive than I expected. Is a suit fine?
I'm sure you look wonderful.
But I see you want a unique dress, right?
Yes. It doesn't have to be expensive, but I want something that can remind me of the wedding.
There are people in town that make dresses for less than I thought. I'll introduce you and you can choose whatever you want.
Okay.
She didn't need a fancy wedding. A fancy dress. In fact, the idea of choosing all the little details appealed less than the role the dress would play in creating their perfect moments. It was such a nice idea that she didn't even mind having to talk to someone else about it. I remember you saying how pictures were important to you. I looked into photographers. Some are expensive than I thought, but I don't think we'll need them for long.
No, probably not. John, we haven't talked about if we're going to invite anyone to our wedding.
His expression became more serious, though not sad. He nodded slowly. Yes, we need to talk about that. Setting aside everything except what you want, how many people do you want at our wedding, Lizzie?
2.
I'm Guessing you don't mean the photographer.
All that matters is the two of us, John. We don't need anything else.
That does simplify things. And since we don't want much of a service, that means we don't need to reserve the venue for as long either.
John, do you agree with me? How many people do you want at our wedding?
He paused for a moment, but she didn't see any fear in his eyes. He reached out to take her hand, and Lizzie gave it an encouraging squeeze. Honestly, I wish we could have a few people. But right now, there's no one I really want to invite. I mean, we have some friends, but... Lizzie considered thoughtfully, both his words and the implication beneath them.
So there's no problem for the wedding. But in the future, do you need more people?
You'll always be the only one for me, Lizzie. You do know that, right?
Of course, John.
She embraced him again, beaming. In fact, she decided to stay draped against him while he did a quick total on a sheet of paper and showed it to her. So this is our total so far. Pretty manageable. But we haven't talked about rings yet, which could be really expensive.
Nope, I don't want any diamonds.
Huh, really? I mean, the rings will be something we actually wear for a long time, and I figured diamonds are traditional.
Diamonds are only valuable because of Monopoly. We learned all about it in one of my classes. The kind of thing that normal, stupid people think is special. We're much more special than that.
Since John wasn't objecting, Lizzie hopped up and ran to get her notebook. She returned with it, flipping the pages rapidly to get to the one she wanted. I remember that page. Is it actually about rings?
Yes, I didn't draw any designs, but I've been thinking about materials. First, I thought about using a high-grade steel, but the thing about steel is that different grades are better for different uses. The idea of using knife steel was kinda nice, but I realized that it was the wrong material. The relationship is much more durable than that.
Smiling, John put up an arm around her and sat back, just enjoying listening to her enthuse about the subject.
For a while I was thinking of having tungsten carbide rings because it has such good hardness rating. But tungsten is brittle and impacts can break in. That's nothing like a relationship at all. So I decided that titanium might be the best after all. It's a little more common, but it would be strong and I'd be so happy to see us wearing them.
Doesn't matter if it's common, what matters is that they're the rings we want. Titanium rings are fine with me.
Also, titanium is much lighter, and while it probably wouldn't make too much difference, I don't want my ring to slow me down at all.
You've obviously thought this through. Well, that seems better in all our respects, because that means we don't need to pay nearly as much. In fact, we're pretty close to our total. Getting the reservation might be the harder part.
That's okay. I can wait.
She simultaneously wanted to be married right away and wanted to be able to enjoy this anticipation forever. But one thing she had learned with John was that the anticipation of the thing often paled in comparison to the thing itself. So she was eager for the wedding. That just improved the anticipation, though. For the next several weeks, Lizzie was overjoyed. Even handling the minor details of the event was wonderful, to say nothing of the major ones. It all seemed to pass by in a rush. But she relished it and tried to capture every detail in her mind. The old woman who made her dress wasn't so bad and helped Lizzie fill in the details of her vague fantasies. She loved what she saw, though given the whole schedule, she wouldn't see the finished dress until their wedding day. Getting their rings turned out to be simpler, just a visit to a jeweler's and the wait. Their rings were a perfect match except for the size. Until the wedding, they each held the other's ring. Lizzie found herself clutching it in her hands often, smiling to herself. Focused on the wedding, Lizzie paid little attention to the news. It didn't matter. All that mattered was the two of them. Until one day when that wasn't true anymore. And this is where I will stop for the video. But if you are enjoying this video, please leave a like, comment what you think so far, and check my channel for more visual novels. If you want to watch more of this, please check the playlist down below. If you want to watch the previous game, I will put the link down below. Thank you, and take care.